At 3:17 a.m., Claire Whitmore heard the whisper. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the house settling. It was breath. Soft, wet. Close. She sat up in bed, candle flickering beside her, heart still. The sound came from the attic, sealed shut with rusted nails and black thread. She hadn't opened it. Not yet. But the voice seeped through the walls like smoke. Claire. The name curled around her like fog. Familiar. Male. Not imagined. Claire, you buried me here. She didn't scream, didn't move, just listened and whispered back. I know. Grayson Hill wasn't on most maps, a patch of rural Virginia tucked between two forgotten highways where the trees grew thick and the fog hung low. The kind of place where people didn't move in, they moved out or disappeared. The town itself felt like a bruise, quiet, tender, easy to miss, and the old farmhouse at the edge of town stood like a secret no one wanted to remember. Claire Whitmore arrived in late September, 32, pale, quiet, alone. She paid in cash for the Grayson house, the one with the slanted porch, the warped shutters, and the attic window that had been boarded up since the last owner vanished. She brought no furniture, no photos, just a suitcase, a box of books, and a roll of black thread. The locals noticed. They always did. 3 owners in 20 years. One died of a heart attack. One vanished without a trace. The last left in the middle of the night, never came back for his things. The house had been empty since. Some said it was cursed, others said it was just unlucky. Claire didn't ask questions. She signed the papers, moved in, and lit a single candle her first night. She sat in the living room, listening to the wind scrape against the windows. The house creaked like it was remembering something. At 3:17 a.m., she heard it. A whisper, not words, just breath. It came from the attic. She didn't move, didn't speak, just listened. The whisper came again on the 3rd night. This time, it said her name. Claire. She stood at the bottom of the attic stairs, candle in hand, listening. The door was sealed, nailed shut, but the voice seeped through the wood like water through rot. Claire, you remember? She didn't move, didn't speak, just listened. Then she turned and walked to the kitchen, opened a drawer, took out a hammer. She didn't open the attic. Not yet. Instead, she sat at the table and began writing. 3:17 a.m. Whisper from attic male voice. Knows my name. Not a ghost, not a hallucination. Something else. She closed the journal, lit another candle, and whispered back. I do. Claire's journal became a map of the house's memory. She didn't write about herself, not her thoughts, not her feelings, only the sounds, the creaks, the groans, the whispers. She marked them by time and location, like a cartographer charting haunted terrain. 2:13 a.m., floorboard near the kitchen. 3:47 a.m., attic whisper. 4:05 a.m., back door latch clicks. The patterns weren't random, they were rhythmic, repeating, like breath. She began stringing black thread across doorways, looping it around knobs, tying it in patterns. She called them bindings. They weren't for decoration. They were for containment. The thread was meant to hold something in place, something that moved when no one was looking. The townspeople watched her from a distance. She didn't attend church, didn't join the book club, didn't ask for help. She came to the store once a week, bought candles, matches, and more thread. June, the diner waitress, tried again. You sewing something? Claire smiled faintly. Stitching silence. That night, The whisper came again, but it didn't speak her name. It laughed. Soft, wet, cruel. Claire sat in the dark, listening. She didn't light a candle, didn't write it down. She just whispered back, "I remember what you did." Sheriff Nolan came by in October. He was polite, but firm. "Just checking in," he said. "Some folks are worried. That house, it's got a reputation." Claire invited him in, made tea, sat across from him in the candlelight. The walls were bare, no photos, no clocks, just thread and wax and silence. "Have you heard anything unusual?" he asked. Claire tilted her head. "Everything here is unusual." He glanced at the bindings, thread strung across doorways, looped around knobs, tied in patterns. "What's all this?" "Bindings," she said, "to keep things still." He didn't press further, just finished his tea and left. But as he walked to his car, he glanced back at the attic window. It was no longer boarded up. Claire opened the attic on the 7th night. The nails came out easily, the wood was soft, the air behind the door was cold. Inside, dust, cobwebs, and a single chair. On the chair, a tape recorder. She pressed play, her own voice. "I remember now." She sat in the chair, closed her eyes, let the whisper surround her. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a hallucination. It was a memory, buried deep, clawing its way out. She whispered, "I buried him here." The next morning, she boarded up the attic again. At the diner, June asked how she was. Claire said, "I found something." "What?" "A memory." June frowned. "Of what?" Claire stirred her coffee. "Of who I used to be." That night, she wrote in her journal, "The house is remembering faster now. I think it's waking up." She lit 3 candles, 1 in each room, sat in the living room, waited. At 3 a.m., the whisper came again. "Claire, you buried me." She whispered back, "I know." Sheriff Nolan returned in November. A neighbor saw Claire digging in the backyard, late at night, no flashlight. He asked her about it. "I was planting something," she said. "In the dark?" She smiled. "Some things grow better without light." He asked to see. She led him to the yard. A patch of disturbed soil. No tools, no seeds. He crouched down, touched the earth. It was warm. The sheriff came back with a warrant. They dug up the yard, found bones, a jaw, a ring. Claire watched from the porch. "I told you," she said. "It grows better in the dark." They arrested her. She didn't resist. At the station, she spoke calmly. "He was the last owner. He hurt people. He hurt me." The sheriff asked, "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Claire looked up. Because the house already knew. She confessed to everything. She'd lived in the house before, under a different name. She'd escaped, changed her identity, returned years later to finish what she started. "I didn't come back to hide," she said. "I came back to remember." The sheriff asked, "Why bury him in the yard?" Claire smiled. "So the house could feed on him." The farmhouse was sealed. Crime scene tape fluttered in the wind, but the whisper never stopped. Neighbors heard it late at night. Soft, low, familiar. "Claire." The house creaked like it was breathing, and in the attic, the tape recorder played on loop. Her voice. "I remember now.